Hi, Sandy Mackey here.
Hi, Al Curtis.
We are here with another podcast episode of Conversations with the Pool People.
Yeah, there we go. Pool girl, pool guy,
Yeah.
pool people.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I thought we would kick off today's podcast by talking about...
I have no idea what she's going to say, so this will all be new to me as well. Just thought you'd let you know.
I thought we'd kick it off by talking about fabulous customers and how a company like ours has been able to create some amazing relationships with our homeowners that go beyond a contracting experience. And I'm thinking about this today because it's one of our pool owners' birthdays today. And as soon as we found out that it was her birthday on Facebook, actually it was Kaylee who said, "Hey, are we going to do something because it's her birthday today?" And then she mentioned it to Al, and Al had called me, and so we were trying to do an impromptu, surprise birthday cake plus bring a magician mind reader friend of ours who's met her before with us to have a little party. Well, as it turns out, they were going to the movie, so then plan B became drop off something kind of fun. And we know that they are a little bit nerdy, this particular set of homeowners, but in a good way, because we really like them.
I like the way you say nerdy, but yes, definitely in a good way.
Definitely nerdy in a good way.
Our kind of nerds.
Our kind of people.
Our kind of nerds, yeah.
So they were going to see the Avengers movie today, and as they were leaving, she had mentioned that she was like the Hulk, and he was like Captain America. So what do we happen to have at the office? We've got a Hulk poster and a Captain America poster, along with some other goodies. So I ran it up to them and dropped it off, and to say they were thrilled and excited, I think, is an understatement. And then I got to chat for a while because we're currently building their pool. And just all of the little things that we try to do to be interactive, they are completely noticing. They completely love it. This is the homeowner that had our whole team over for a team dinner before we kicked off their project. So that's the type of customer that we can really have a lot of fun with because we get to know them and their family, and it goes way beyond what our previous, we've had some interactions like this with some of our other customers, but throughout the history of the company, it hasn't always been like this. So I thought that would be a nice place to start today.
I think number one, we're ready for it because we're growing and developing ourselves and developing the culture of who we in the company are, and therefore the customer can respond to that. I think we probably have had really cool customers in the past that we weren't ready to interact with or be vulnerable enough or transparent enough to show kind of really who we were, because there's this divide line between customer and business that it's hard to cross, because if you cross, and how many stories have we heard people describe what happens if you get too close to a customer, if you whatever. And I think when you give enough of a shit, that line doesn't matter, because we know that no matter what happens, we will be there to make sure that whatever it is that happens is taken care of. And that's probably the key difference versus, well, I don't know if I'm going to want to go back. I don't know if I should feel obligated to go help. I don't know if, no, it's not even a question. I can't imagine, could you, one of our customers calling for help and us saying, no, we're going to charge you, or whatever it's going to cost you. No, it's an extension of our family now.
I think every person on our team, if we got a call from one of our homeowners, everybody would drop what they're doing to go out and help.
I don't think there's any question of that.
Yeah. That's really kind of
and
a sweet.
It is really neat.
It's a sweet thing, but that's a profound statement.
It's profound.
Every person on our team
would drop everything.
Would drop. Mm-hmm. They could have plans, and they would drop them to go and take care of one of our customers.
It's very true. You mentioned that Kaylee had called to say, "Hey, remember it's her birthday." Well, this afternoon I was on the phone with Katie, and the first question when I called her, she wasn't working today. Her first question was, "Did we do anything for Wendy?" Immediately. And so I started to tell her story, and she's like, "Oh, good, because I know, I made sure," and obviously we're friends, all of us are friends with the customers on Facebook as well, because Katie had a conversation with her on Facebook this morning. and all of that, and she was so happy to know that we'd been able to do something. And so here was her day off, out doing the things she's doing, and she was looking back and saying, you know, making sure that that had happened. Again, that adds to that. You're absolutely right. We would drop whatever.
Yeah.
And anywhere that whatever we could do to help, we would.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of the things that's happening that we aren't always aware of is the number of people that are paying attention to what we do on Facebook. And we're really good at doing a lot of posting, although I haven't been on the job as much so far this summer. I've been in the office a little bit more, and I try to get pictures from everybody who's on the job site. And when I was out dropping off the birthday surprise today, I was talking with the homeowners, and they are paying attention. The minute that we have a new picture series out on Facebook or a new post or something like that, they're watching all of those. And the homeowner today told me, Mark, he said, it was just delightful to see that series of photos from the other day when I had stopped out on the job, along with comments about you thinking that this is just a spectacular project. Mm-hmm. And he had commented, it you know, looks a little bit like a mess
Bomb
right now, like a disaster. And I had mentioned too how I came out and I said it looks spectacular already because I can see where it's going to be going. So
and you know, I mean, because you've seen what develops, you know where it's going to go.
Yeah, mm-hmm. But he was just delighted to see us posting about his pool in progress mm-hmm. and using, you know, those kinds of words. Mm-hmm. So that's a big deal.
Well, I think it is going to be spectacular. I think there's so many cool elements just in the space, and I was trying to articulate in that when we were talking in those videos, is that this is just a really unique and quite challenging yard. But doing it this way, the challenge goes away because it's fun. If we looked at a difficult yard and, oh, it's so awful, add on top of that, if we didn't have the best relationship with the homeowner, not one of us would want to be out there doing that work without being begrudgingly doing it. And instead it's enjoying the process and enjoying the customer and enjoying the experience, and all of a sudden all those things that used to get in the way, the access to the yard, the this, to that, they just kind of go away because we're playing. Yeah. You get into that area of playing, and I don't imagine that most companies want to even go there. Most of them don't. But I'm glad we have, because it's a completely different experience. But that also requires us to stay on our A game, to not slip up, to not be inauthentic. We have to be authentically ourselves all the way through. And that would probably scare people.
You know, speaking of, it could scare people, but
some people.
I was just thinking I should have had the camera on me. I mean, of course, I was just dropping off a birthday gift today, so I didn't have my camera, and we weren't planning that. But based on my conversation, I'm just reliving it in my head right now, and there were so many spectacular things that were said that I feel like I just want to share them all now. You know, one of the other things that Wendy had said is they used to watch, like, do-it-yourself television shows on Saturday mornings, and they don't even have to turn their TV on anymore because it's like live do-it-yourself shows, live do-it-yourself programming happening in their backyard, and they just sit and they watch it, and they spend so much time doing that. And they joked that one of them works from home, and he might be slowing down on the amount of work that he's getting done. That, and they get to interact with the, you know, television caliber personalities mm-hmm. that are in their backyard. So I thought that was really fun.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned, I don't want to shift gear, but just for a second before I forget, you mentioned how many people are paying attention to us, but we don't necessarily know. That's something that it's worth sharing in this moment, because I think it's important that our goal was never to, get more likes, how could we buy more likes, and how could we broadcast and boost and promote our page and have every other post be about like our page and share our page and all of that. That was never our focus when we got started, and it still isn't. And that's one of those things. What is really cool is how many people are paying attention that don't comment. They're watching our stuff, and we might hear a year later or 6 months later or at some point later that they're paying attention to us, but that's not our intent. Our intent isn't to grow. It wasn't. I don't think our intent was how fast could we grow lots of likes to have lots of likes so that we have this big page. Instead it was, how could we share our information and let people find it? Mm-hmm. And we know that there's people paying attention, and we know that there's enough. And there'll be more, but that goes, why I bring that up then is because of this particular customer. They pay attention. They found us online, they saw our stuff all over online, they finally communicated through online to come, and it was just this natural transition.
Yeah. Because
everything they saw online, and I know you made the comment that she watches videos every day, our videos.
Mm-hmm. Mostly you.
Well, they're our videos. They are mostly of me. We know that.
Yeah.
But all of that is seamless because it's authentic. So it's everything they've watched before, to interacting with us, to now watching our stuff, to seeing us work, to interacting with us socially and work-wise. There's no discrepancy. There's no pull the mask off and hang it on the shelf and put a different mask on. Okay, now I'm at work. Now I'm on. Now I'm on the internet. Now I'm on a video. Now I'm talking philosophy. Now I'm talking construction. It's kind of the same.
It's not kind of the same.
It is the same. It's very much the same, and I think that really helps that yumminess factor that we've talked about so much. Just creating that whole live TV for them almost is what you said. You've described it for them, and I think that's really important. It does create that whole unique experience, and that's why we got the text this afternoon saying, "You've wrecked it for us. We're never going to be able to hire a contractor again because you've set the bar so much higher." Yeah. But isn't that because at the core of who we are, I know I'm just a pool guy. I'm a dirty, smelly worker guy that goes out and does my thing every day and love it. But isn't at the core of all of this the fact that we really enjoy this, we really enjoy the people, we care about the process, and the net result is money? I mean, can you imagine us going into this and how different it would be if it was all about how much money can we make from them? How can I make them spend more money so we could? That just kind of makes me go,
yeah.
But how many people think it's a sales call, and if I could add that $3,000 item, I get this much more. And the net result of just this being this way of allowing ourselves to just sort of flow into the world and the world flowing into us still provides us an income and provides us a life, and we don't want for things.
Yeah. Well, once we decide with a customer what it is that they're looking for, and we establish the price parameter as well, this does cost them money to have us working on it, we don't change things later, and things don't typically add extras, but there's a lot more kind of giving and tweaks and upgrades and things that just naturally happen because we don't treat it like we have to line item every detail that's happening. We explain what it's going to cost, we come to an agreement, and then there's always ways that we go above and beyond what the expectations are without adding, an additional financial expectation on the homeowner. So it is about the project, and they do pay for the project, but the experience part is just built into that without hesitation.
And that's, from a marketing perspective, it's not so easy to describe in words the experience that we give. And I'm not sure, but I think we know what levels is expected. It's sort of that baseline that
it's the level that we expect, because I don't even know that the customers have that expectation.
No, but I think there's that minimal expectation that any customer has. I think once they've gotten involved with us before we even started construction, their expectation is already higher because of everything we've done. That's nowhere near our expectation. That's all they think they're going to get, which is still going to be really cool, but there's so much room from there to here of what it can be that doesn't necessarily take a lot of money. Now, sometimes it costs us some money to do some of the cool stuff we do, but that's the reward. You add that much more reward on it with this much more money, and the net result is all this greatness in between.
I think part of the greatness in between is that artistic factor that you can't put on paper. You know, we had toyed with doing theming budgets and things like that along the way, and then I think what we ultimately decided was that a customer doesn't really understand what we mean when we say that.
Right.
So we just automatically build that into
And just
the
know that we're going to do
price of
something.
the pool, that there's just kind of this fun little play area that we have. And I was at one of our other projects today, the one here in Brighton, the outdoor adventure pool, and I haven't been there this year. I think that was my first time back out to the job since fall. And the amount of carving and the amount of detail, and there's a little turtle, you know, you often see turtles on our pools as fountains. Well, this doesn't have one of those, but there's a little turtle carved in near the steps. And then we have kind of an adventure climbing wall that's got some trees that just are beautiful. Well, one of the things on the base of one of the trees is a little fairy door. And that little detail to me, that is what, I mean, everything is beautiful, but I happen to love fairy doors. And it's such a small little aspect in the whole scheme of things. And it took Karen some time to imagine it and a little bit of time to carve it, but you were putting a tree in there anyway. So it's not like it was extra, but the extra detail and the extra love and the extra caring that goes into that piece and that goes into the turtle and that goes into all those little kind of nooks and crannies. That's what you can't explain to people, and that's what really is that wow factor, that every time somebody is out there, whether it's the homeowner or people that they've invited into their
wowed by
space,
something else.
they're going to notice something a little different, and it's going to hit them in a little different way, and they're going to see how elements work together continually. You know, it's not just a one-stop shopping kind of thing where you're going to be at the pool and then you've seen all there is to see. There is continually things that people will notice and explore.
That's definitely the difference, and that's a great example of the going beyond portion. It's an awesome landscaping company that's running the job. You know, normally we're in full control, which we're in full artistic control of this project, but we're doing the pool, which is a part of this, all this other stuff, and as nicely as it's all done, it just is looking like everything else.
They don't have
just
nooks
on a
and
bigger scale.
crannies and
There's no fun in it. It's very much lots of rock, and this company did an amazing job sculpting this yard to make it work. And then put brick pavers, which everyone expects brick pavers, and a little fire pit, which is just like any other fire pit, and all of those things. And the cost of that is absolutely no different than doing it our way and carving a custom tree trunk that, think of that, I don't know if you noticed down there by the water, they did a circle for the fire pit.
Yeah.
Well, for whatever that ring and that thing cost, we could have carved a cool tree stump that would have just been naturally sitting in, then they could have brick pavered around it. And it would have been 1,000 times better, but no one would think to do that. Yeah. And if you look in that project, all of those little detail things with what we've done make it spectacular. Yeah. And I'm continually blown away when I go out there. And that's one of those things that raises the bar for me the whole next time. How could we do this more, do different, whatever? And that was a very complex yard. I mean, that's about as complex as I've seen to this point. And yet the net result, we didn't minimize any of those little details. As complicated as it was, pouring hundreds of yards of mud just to cement just to support this thing and do all of that, and we didn't get lost in that. We never forgot the details, and it's those details that really and not the details of how it's put together, but the cool little things.
The cool little accents.
Those little accents, those little things that you go,
surprises.
Who would have even thought of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. That stuff, I think, is where we excel, because that's part of the culture of the whole team now. Yeah. It's at one time it was kind of me pushing Karen along to spread her wings a little bit and try stuff, to now
everybody has ideas.
Everybody's got ideas saying, what about this, what about that?
Including this spectacular project we've got going now, where we'll have a tree built on the edge of the pool for a rope swing, but also on the other side it'll have a hammock. And I don't quite know how they'll be incorporated yet, but I've got some cool birds here in the office, some cool sculpted out of rock birds, and I had mentioned that to you before we started, that one of the girls just loves birds, and wouldn't it be cool if we could get Karen to carve like a perch or a nest into the tree and actually embed these kind of just as cool little awesome accent pieces.
That particular piece right there with the tree and the rope swing and then the hammock, that's going to be spectacular. I just know it. It's one of those feel things. We don't even know exactly how tall it's going to be or how whatever, but I just know that is going to be spectacular.
Yeah. Karen is the one doing most of the tree carving for those trees at
She did the ones
the Outdoor Adventure Project.
mhm.
She is getting really, really good at trees and
she
detail.
is, and she's spreading her wings and looking and trying more, but everybody is. I was sitting inside the grotto today. We cleaned the grotto out because we were plastering the floor before our sand finish goes on. And I was just sitting back there, and it was nice and cool inside there. And I was looking at the details. Now with it cleaned out, it's wow. But I was looking at the carving, and there's this beams that go up and across like the ship's beams. 3 different people carved those beams, and they are awesome. So each of the girls, and they were all girls that did it with their own interpretation. They're all a little bit different, and they're all spectacular. That says a lot, that it's not just Karen developing, it's everybody developing. And that's really cool. The more we can get everybody involved to do more of that stuff, the more, and that's play. Whether you realize it's work or not, that's playing at work. If you could just doodle, it's like doodling, but you're doodling 3-dimensionally in play. And it's not, okay, we have to be done by 5 o'clock, get this whole wall done. You can doodle because we want that spectacular doodle in there. Yeah. And that's kind of a fun thing because there's so much that we could do on every level of project we would build with that fun little doodle stuff that people would never expect, but they wouldn't understand, but they would come to enjoy.
Well, another one of the cool things that happened today in the conversation with the homeowner
20 minutes,
is the girls that are on our team are spectacular. The young girls that are doing man's work, if you want to call it that. Like, typically on a building crew, there's probably grown men, many grown men that are doing the work that these, 18, 19, 20-year-old girls are doing. That was a pretty spectacular thing to talk about as well, that how this homeowner would love to have the girls, Kaylee and Katie, hang out with their family just more because they're, strong, independent, friendly, considerate, kind, awesome girls who just kind of kick butt at what they do. So those are a lot of great qualities.
They're great examples for kids today, for that generation today. You couldn't put better examples up on a stage and say, look what you can be.
Well,
You're
especially
absolutely right.
There's the younger girls that have already been out to play with the pool or the equipment on the job, because you had one of them digging on the machine with you.
The homeowners girls.
And the other one was shoveling, and her dad was just impressed with what she was able to do. He said she was in the pool and she was moving earth. And that's a big deal. And if somebody's not exposed to that, and I know in this household that they would be because they're do-it-yourselfers and they do a lot of projects, but how many people aren't even given that as a choice? Or, girls who think that they have to stay so girly. Mm-hmm. And I said to the homeowner, yeah, Kaylee's kind of gotten over that. And he said, yeah, do you think? Because, yeah, they jump in and they're in the muck with everybody else.
Well, you know what's fun? Being in it all the time. And I've watched, this year so far, it's been mainly Kaylee and Katie. Worked just a little bit with Jamie. Jesse's coming back from school, so she'll be back now. But those 2 girls, and it was the same last spring when we built the project, is they just got in there, got muddy, got dirty, didn't care. Kaylee was running to the hardware store or something. I said, you might just want to wipe your face off, because we had been pumping concrete. And when you're on the end of the pump, there's a lot of splashes. And instead of it being, oh, I got to make sure, she just went about and did her thing. Or then we were tying steel and moving steel, and you get all that rust and it's smeared all over her face, and it was okay because she was doing her thing. It wasn't worrying every minute, is my, do I look right or not? And here's this beautiful girl with stuff all over her face, because it's about the work. It's not about, oh, how do I look at work? It's about the work that she's actually doing. And Katie is very much the same way. She'll jump right in exactly the same way. And it's secondary that there's dirt on your face or that you're whatever. And that's something that, what you just mentioned too, though, is most girls, unless they're gardening, most girls are never given the option to ever jump on a shovel and see what moving dirt is about.
Well, all the girls on our team have had a pretty good and strong role model in Karen, too. Because for a very long time, Karen has kind of set that standard, and Karen hasn't worried on the job what she looks like. No. And they can all doll up with the best of them.
They all are beautiful, absolutely.
She, I think, has also set that great example of what being a girl working on the crew looks like.
And then what being a very, being a mature woman and understanding all that they're going through because she's been there, and then she's absolutely set the standard. She's allowed them to be them, knowing that she's a girl too. Yeah. And that's a big piece of it. I think without Karen, that transition would be a whole lot more difficult for sure.
So another one of the funny things that happened that I can retell from my little visit with the homeowners today.
Wow, you were there like
I know. I
18
said
hours
I could
or
have
something.
stayed for hours and hours, but I had more places that I had to go today. The homeowner that has been watching the progress was talking about what it looks like to pump concrete, and he was just pretty blown away by that. And I was talking about how Kaylee had been on the end of the hose one day, and the splashback and everything, and he was saying, yeah, Al ends up covered from head to toe. And I said, yeah, and then he got back to the office and we did some video, and I don't even think we had you wipe it off your face, and we just kind of ran with it. And the funny thing is, his wife, Wendy, had said that she's like the one with the red sweatshirts, right? I said, yeah, and we were talking about, and she's like, his look and the philosophy. So as soon as we put videos out, they're being watched, and that is fabulous. You know what else I think is fun too, just off the subject of customers for a minute, is doing these podcasts too. We know that we've got a pretty avid fan base. I'm not sure how many people are in that fan base, but I know also as soon as the podcasts come out, those are being listened to. So thank you. I think you know who you are. Wizard of Spas, I think, is I'm going to give him the title of #1 podcast fan because he's the first one to watch it, and he's also very responsive on Twitter. So we totally appreciate knowing that.
And that's the difficulty sitting here on our end many times because of the medium, is we don't know. There are a few people that respond, and we do have the other tools of Twitter and everything else, and most people kind of don't transition too much from another. But it is good to have a few people that speak up quite often.
Yeah.
There's others that we know we hear, and there's tons and tons that over time we hear, oh, remember when you said this or when you said that, and
and we wonder if anybody had been paying attention.
Yeah, and as much as you can see views and you can see whatever, you really don't know were they listening.
Yeah.
And so that is kind of a cool thing.
Or they could be listening, but did they really hear you?
Did they really hear it? Yeah.
So we love to know that people are really hearing it.
And you know me, and I know you well enough that a lot of what's infused in what we talk about, there's deeper meanings and there's deeper, philosophical points to life. And sometimes you have to say a lot of stuff to say something profound. It's sort of my philosophy of life that, to build relationships with my children, it was quantity time equals quality time. That if you get enough quantity time, those quality moments build up. If you try to just have quality time and you try to force it, you have none. But you say it is because that's what you dictate it to be. But quantity time builds quality moments, and that's the same with the videos and with philosophy and talking about it. The quantity of videos we do creates these quality moments that hit different people at different times. People we never would have imagined are paying attention to us mentioned something that we said somewhere along the way about something, and it's very interesting.
The same thing is happening with our homeowners now too. And that's one of the things as well. The homeowners that we're working for now had met one of our previous homeowners, and they had come to visit us just because they missed us. And the homeowner, told me today that she completely understands what they meant when they said they miss us, because she is in no hurry to have us be done with her yard because they're enjoying it, and it's such a fun process that we're able to take people through now. That's an amazing part.
There's probably a lot to be said for the unexpected. They don't know because we don't make them know. We don't want them to know. We want it to be our work done our way to their satisfaction. But we don't want to do our work their way for their satisfaction. We want to do our work our way to their satisfaction.
So one of the things I'm thinking as an example of that is we don't really tell them what to expect, and we don't tell them the order that we're doing things, and it's almost a surprise every day to see, oh, what are they doing? Because half the time they're not going to know that a concrete truck is coming, or that we're forming this, or we're putting that together. It's just, we show up and then we start working, and then just,
cool stuff happens, and
really
it keeps
amazing
changing,
stuff happens. Yeah.
There's an awful lot. There's two ways of looking at the construction side of what we do. And this is, I think, what's worked so well for us, is we don't bog them down in details. We don't give them material lists. We don't tell them exactly what's going to be on it and what equipment and what and how and what stone's here and what's there. And if someone needs that, they're not going to hire us anyway, because we're very transparent and clear up front that if that's what you need, hire somebody else. But there's that way of having a list, having whatever materials list based. If a customer has that to go off of, then they kind of have an idea what's got to come next. It kind of gives them a roadmap. And our idea is we don't even know half the time what's going there. There was no plan for a turtle where that turtle is sitting on those steps. But isn't that spectacular?
Absolutely.
Could we have really said, okay, so when you walk up the steps here, let's fictitiously pretend that you're going up steps, and there's going to be a tree trunk here, and there'll be a turtle right there, and you're going to pay for it.
Nobody would
do that.
that.
No one would understand.
Yeah.
And instead you're saying we develop it, and that's the magic where you're talking about people not wanting us to leave, is if we were trying to do the bare minimum to get paid and get out of Dodge, then there'd be none of that. But we're never doing the bare minimum. There's no bare minimum in anything. There's a whole lot cheaper way of us to do this, I'm sure. If this was about money, there's a lot cheaper ways of doing things. This is about doing it in such a way that it makes sense for them, makes sense for us, and that we can be spectacular and do spectacular things and make it amazing and love it.
Yeah.
But I don't think that same thing could happen when we're looking at square footage of block that we're gonna, of tumbled Brussels stone that we're gonna put on the patio. And if we paid attention to all of that, we would get lost in that, and there'd be no joy in it. But instead, we know it's all just gonna get done, and we know enough about material cost and what it's gonna cost and what the labor's gonna be that we're gonna do okay on it. And because we don't worry about that part, this part becomes spectacular. And it's definitely just different. If you haven't been on one of our jobs, it's just different.
It is just different.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things with the conversation at the outdoor adventure pool today was when you had initially presented the design idea to them with the landscape company that we're working with, you had given some choices for upgrades of finishes. And at the time, the homeowner kind of said, no, I think, this other one will be great, and it would be great. But because we've now invested more in ourselves and more in this new process, you're automatically going to upgrade this pool, because it's not a matter of getting the money for it. It's a matter of having the ability to finish something in a new way and make it new and different and exciting.
Even more spectacular.
And that's kind of the new iteration of these projects. All the projects on the wall behind us are absolutely spectacular. And we're taking that spectacular to a new level of amazing with some of this, new technology and new stuff.
Again, doing that particular surface just makes it better. makes it more comfortable, it's easier to maintain, it's all of those other things that we weren't getting and what we were doing before, as amazing and awesome as they are, there was a step to make them better. And instead of charging every customer forward for that better way of doing it, it just becomes our way, and we just do it.
We just work it into
Yeah,
everything we do.
it doesn't make any sense to me, and I know a ton of the guys in our market here that are bidding on jobs, and they're just like at times we did, we upgrade a service or upgrade a this or upgrade a something. Why not just offer the best that fits? Why not just tell a customer, this is the best thing for you, and here's why if you don't believe me, and that's it. Instead of, well, you could go with this, or you could go with this, or maybe you want to go with this, or you want to make that decision for them.
Yeah.
And just know that it's the right decision. Now, if you're looking at this from a bottom line dollar way of doing it, unfortunately, I think what would happen is most people would look at what's the cheapest acceptable thing that I could do to make the most money on, and all of a sudden there's a punch to the stomach. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about do the best thing for the situation that you possibly can. Don't give them any other options than the best thing that you could do for that situation.
Yeah, definitely. And I think our homeowners are okay with that. Like the conversation that I was having today, I mentioned that tile choices might be coming up, and I said, I don't know if Al showed you any tile choices, and they said, really? We get a choice? And I said, well, sort of. It'll be, here's a couple that Al likes, which one do you like the most? But if you actually don't want a choice, we're happy to not even make you do that. So I think they're kind of caught in between, like, oh, we might get to make a choice. And I said, Al might want you to feel a little more included in the selection process. So he might just have you choose it anyway. But they're equally okay because they're just so excited about the way things are going that, she equated it to when her girls were toddlers. She would have picked out 3 outfits for them already, and she would have been okay with all of them, but she would have given them a choice. But it was a choice within her acceptable parameters already. So that was kind of a fun little nuance today, fun little exchange.
Well, every once in a while I want people to think that they're going to get a little bit of what they think they're supposed to get, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's fun to play in that space, because really I'm going to lead them to exactly what I think is best. And if I don't have a particular one or two, I'm going to let them choose it. But ultimately, they're not going to be given an option that I'm not going to be acceptable with, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give them 12 samples of tile. I'm going to give them 3 that are going to work. And we're not going to give them any options to go crazy on us and do something, because it's just not going to happen. I know better.
Yeah. And that's part of why people choose us as well. And whether it's entirely clear to them at the beginning or not, if they like our looks of the pools and the projects and they like the style, then I think they know that they're getting something different.
That already resonates, kind of.
So they're aware that their process is going to be a little different than they might expect. And if we ask each of our homeowners after we've built for them what surprises them and they knew how to put it into words, it would probably be the fact that it was such a different experience that they could have never seen coming, but that was super spectacular.
Thinking that they're supposed to make color choices and make material choices and blah, 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 which from a designer standpoint, a homeowner shouldn't be making that decision if they're being hired as a designer.
Yeah.
And yet, let's let you pick out what you want. It makes no sense. That goes back to, though, vision. Most companies really don't have a vision of something. They just look at numbers as the next sale. So let you make all your choices, and it's kind of like, we don't care if it doesn't look right or not, because you chose it.
We don't do that.
Let's not do that for any amount of money or any amount of anything. Let's make sure that it always works.
Well, it always works, and it always works with our spectacular customers.
Yeah.
So, on that note, do you have any final thoughts?
I'm pretty happy with this spectacular everything, because spectacular pools and spectacular customers, what more could a pool guy want? I mean, really, spectacular company with amazing people, and we talk about all of us in the field. Here's my final thought: we're nothing out in the field without you guys in the office, without you leading the ship and lining us up with those customers. All that you do, all the staff in the office, all of that's tremendously important as well. And we kind of take the glory out in the field by going, oh, look what we did. Without you, that wouldn't even be happening because we wouldn't have gotten there. Without you sharing our information and taking the time to do all of that so that the world can see it, so that anyone watching, listening could be a part of that, that wouldn't even happen because I'd be out in the field trying to do something. I need that, and that's why without you and the girls and guys you have working with you out in the field, we're the credit people, but really you guys make it happen. So I thank you. And here's my public thanking you for everything that you do.
Well, thank you. It's nice that you mentioned that. But
It
it's
is very
also
true.
all you.
It does, no, that does get way overlooked because behind great projects are all of the people that make it happen. And not just the artisans, not just the people there, it's the rest of the staff. And we take the credit when the credit's not all ours.
We have spectacular customers, and we have a pretty spectacular team
We
as
do.
well.
We do.
Yeah.
Yep.
On that note, thanks for watching.
And or listening.
Listening,
Yep.
and we will see you next time.
There we go.